All right. So, yeah, I went and I did a couple of things after I made the video for today and decided that I would come back and start on that tough shit that I told you that's a tough topic for me. There is a person online who like really helped me navigate this pain and this burden, and they were, I'll forever be grateful. I definitely have this strong connection to this person. It's weird. And in the past I've always I never connected with people based off looks or whatever. I've always felt for connections, and even online, like I feel, strongly connected to this person. But mm, regardless of all of that spiel, they helped me get through this part. And there would be someone else in my life, like a childhood sweetheart, who I actually, confided in when I was younger about this stuff that I'm about to talk about. But um before I jump into that, the one of my friends asked about forgiveness and about, you know, forgiveness is a tough thing for her, and I completely 100% felt that. Like, I think forgiveness is this weird one. Um and I'm sorry, but I just finished watching I was watching Insecure while I was eating. And speaking of eating, like, I'm horrible at eating. Like, people see me being fat, like, you would think like, oh, I eat all the time. Like, for a while now I've been eating like probably one time a day. Even when Dante was alive, like, I literally would cook, for them, but it was never this thing that I did for myself. I would have to force myself to eat. Um and I do enjoy sweets, which I'm trying to work on that. But I even with that, I typically eat. I probably binge eat at night, and I wouldn't even call it like a binge eat, but I guess so. That's what it would be. And then like during the day, I'm basically like not going without food and nutrients. So like I'm trying to work on that. So I did want to put that out there for anybody that's struggling with like eating disorders, or just simply, eating. For me, it's that eating is a task. Like, I have to, it sounds so fucking lazy, but I don't give a shit. Because I do so much anyway. That is a task that my brain just feel like, I hate saying that it's beneath me, but like, it literally feels like, why the fuck do I got to, prepare this food, fix this food? Like, why can't it just be, fixed, healthy, on the table in front of me? And I'm the same kind of way with cleaners. Like, I know how to clean. But it's like, what the fuck? Like, it is a extra task that is taking up brain power and energy that I don't feel like exerting, because I just do so many other things. So I'm learning my weaknesses, and that's just something I'm not good at. And unfortunately, I don't have the funds to like pay somebody to come clean up or pay somebody to cook me something to eat and give it to me and say, hey, it's breakfast time, eat your food. Like, I would definitely eat it then, but I don't have that. You need help? Why are you creeping in my room? Sassy's not in here. She's under the bed. We gonna I don't even know where my last conversation was going. Um, sometimes you just gotta take a pause, take a break. But wherever that was going, and it stopped, and maybe it'll pick back up later. But I did have on this the Billionaire Boys Club hoodie. I got cold, but this is actually Dante's hoodie, and Charlotte Charlotte wanted to keep it because it reminded her of him, and like right now, and I got it on, like it reminds me of him. But um, I don't think people talk about that much. Like when your partner dies, um, how you just want to be next to them or close to them sometimes, and I feel like I'm phasing out of that. Um, but yeah, sometimes I still do. I just, I spent 11 years with him, so there's gonna be moments where I do, miss him. That was real confusing for me, his death, because in the end, our relationship definitely was not stable and sturdy. Things that got dangerous. So it has been confusing grieving him, but one thing for sure is I know he loved me and I loved him. We both just grew up in chaos and dysfunction, so the way we showed our love sometimes came out very inappropriate, very passionate, and it was sometimes not level headed. And sometimes we also did things to each other that was hateful. I would say that being able to reflect that a lot of my shit was reactive abuse. So like I would be verbal abusive when he would do certain things, but I also can say too a lot of my flaws, because I'm gonna get to his flaws, so I might as well tell my flaws too. But a lot of my flaws were I just never was satisfied, and that came from low self esteem. Of nothing he did was ever good enough for me, because he had did so much bad shit in the beginning also, and plus because I really didn't know what I wanted, or I didn't know what my expectations was, to be honest. And it's hard to know, definitely when you're in an abusive relationship and when you come from, a chaotic childhood background. You really don't know, and you didn't have examples to show you what love is supposed to look like or what a relationship is supposed to look like. So you kind of, make it up as you go, or you repeat the same cycles that you know. So yeah, that's that. I don't even know how I got there because this video ain't about that. Oh, we were on forgiveness. And forgiveness. Yeah, forgiveness is a tough one. It's one that I used to thought I was doing right. And hear me out. I thought forgiveness was allowing, forgiveness was saying that, accepting someone's apology and you moving forward with that person and giving them another chance. However, now I know that that's not forgiveness. What that is setting yourself up for like secular abuse, and definitely if the person has no intentions on changing. So forgiveness is always going to be a tricky one, and forgiveness, I feel like, it's always going to look different for everybody else. However, forgiveness for me came from the friend that I mentioned earlier. Like, I don't even know if to call it a friend, but like that special connection that I found with somebody from earlier. That basically, like, forgiveness is, for me, is giving it to God. So like somebody harmed you or hurt you, and I am going to use a very personal story of mine to show you, how you can forgive somebody and move forward. Um, Even if it's something like very horrific. But forgiveness is for you. I know y'all hear that so much, but it truly is for you. Even if something is done to you, forgiveness should be for you. Um, but for me, it was giving it to God. Just however you pray, however you figure that out. And that's one thing, too. People probably wonder, like, what religion do I have? So I'll get into a video about that, but just know that I believe in God and I believe God is collective. Um and I also believe in Jesus Christ. Like, I believe that he was a real historical person. I believe he was a prophet. Um I think we're all children of God, but my beliefs about Jesus is probably a little different than most Christians, but I do believe that Jesus Christ lived and died for our sins, and I believe that story. But for me, I pray to God. So God. Um, Sometimes I would say Allah because Allah means God in Arabic. Like, so you, I'm just gonna let you know, you can't. I'm not a person you can pinpoint. Like, I've learned most religions that has been able to be translated, because there's some stuff that has not been translated. And man can't crack the code, but most of the things that have been translated, I have learned about. Um, and I love them all. All of them are flawed, and I don't think people realize that. Man did write it, but yeah, I just believe simply in God. I believe even people who believe in many gods, we're all praying to the same God. God is a source, and you can find him here, there, anywhere. Like, that's my personal opinion. So if you're wondering about that, that's that. Um, I do participate into the occult too. I know my lane. I stay in my lane. Everybody has a lane, whatever you do. Like, but I feel like it's all about intentions, and yeah, that. Um, so when I say I pray to God. Um, and I basically just recently had to ask for forgiveness. Um, for let me see. I want to pause real quick because this is a tough one, but it's worth your while. So bear with me. All right, so I'm back, and I didn't lose my train of thought, but I just needed to take a pause, and sometimes we need to do that. I said I wasn't gonna edit this, and I'm not gonna edit this, but sometimes I might need to take a pause, and that's okay. And I hope that you take pauses when you need to. But yeah, so one of the things that came up immediately after, so grief is something like really crazy. Like, to be transparent, I lost a person close in my life. And this is not even all the deaths, but this is just the line of deaths each year. So from 2019, I lost my grandmother, and then I would continue on to lose a person each year. Some of them not even a year apart. But so I had 6 human deaths from 2019 to 2023, and I also lost my dog, Lily, which was Dante's dog, but we all lived together, so she was near and dear to my heart as well. And I wasn't there because me and Dante was not on good terms. It was a safety issue and all that stuff, but I wish I would have been there, and that bothers me sometimes, but I give it to God, and hope that my pet understands. Because, I mean, our pet, or if you have pets, your pets are like kids. So, yeah, that hurt. So, six humans, 1 dog in that period of time. And Dante being my biggest loss. So, yeah, I don't even know how I got there. But, yeah, when he passed, that's what I got there for. I go on tangents sometimes, I forget. But when he passed, and I think this too is an avoidance thing, because as you can see out of all my videos, this is not flowing. However, I want to get this out. I have to get this out. I think my biggest block for this issue is that it's gonna ruffle feathers. And you know what? I tell myself over and over again, like, I can't um, control who feathers it ruffle. It is my truth and my perception. Um, so here it goes. Um, when Dante passed, I was talking to a past like, childhood sweetheart, and basically on this journey of grief, this grief was about me fixing myself and working on myself, and lots of memories came out. Lots of memories came out to surface. And one of the memories that I remember that hurt me more than hearing that he had died was I remember that, when I was little, my father was touching me. Um that one, I have no more tears to cry for that one, because I've cried a lot of tears. And one of the biggest things we don't talk about is childhood trauma that you suppress so deeply that you forget it existed. But however, because of one of my childhood friends, talking with them, like, it ended up coming back out. And I think that he was probably like the only person, like, I had told that I can remember, besides my mom. And this is where it gets tricky for me. There will be no slander on my mom. And if there is, judge yourself. Like, don't judge her. Judge you. Because thou who have not sinned, definitely you Christian people who are so devotedly, thou who have not sinned, cast the first stone. But I did tell my mom when I was younger. She has no recollection of it whatsoever. However, I do. And I remember when I told her, her first response was to question me, which, as a child, that made me shut down. I did not want to relive that. I did not want to go down that road. And for real, what the fuck did I need to? Like, if I said this happened to me, like, you, I came to her because I felt like it was a safe space. But I think that, and this is just my thoughts, this is not fact, this is not proven, but I think that her response to it came from a place of her childhood and maybe how sexual abuse was handled in her childhood. And yeah, I think that was her response, based off of what she knew and how things were handled. But yeah, that one for me was pretty tough. Me and my father never had like this great relationship. Like, my father has taught me things, but he was never a consistent father. And it's weird because I think people thought that he was. Definitely some of my siblings, but he was not. My father was a selfish man. Um, and that came from his childhood. He came from a family of 12 siblings, including himself, and those were surviving siblings from birth. And his father had left my grandmother with 12 kids by herself back in times where men weren't leaving their families. So I'm pretty sure that did a number on him. And then I also don't know what happened to him as a kid, so I have to keep that in mind. However, this is something that I used to do in the past. I used to empathize with my torturers. And here's why. It started with my parents. So I've always had to make excuses for why my parents were the way they were. And still trust them to be my parents, if that makes sense. So, like, I would receive abuse, but know that they were my parents and they loved me. So that in turn made me grow up and think that it was okay for people to abuse me and they could still love me. Both things could exist. However, now that I'm grown, that shit ain't for me no more. Like, I don't, I want healthy relationships. I want relationships that make me feel at peace, that feels good. I can bring something to the table. They can bring something to the table. But I do not, want anything that's confusing ever again. I feel like my mom's reaction to it made me feel like it never happened. And I shut down. And one of the things that bothered me the most was that everybody knew my dad was a pedophile. Um, it was no secret, but it was a secret. And I'm telling this story not to make my dad look bad, not to make my family look bad. If you are a part of my family, if you are someone that knows my family and it is activating parts in you that's anger and all that stuff, like I suggest you sit down and you think about what's making you angry. The story isn't to make anyone angry. The story is to show that being silent about sexual abuse, being silent about incest is a fucking disservice to us all. I know you were taught to, don't air out your dirty laundry. Like that is like the biggest thing. I can't speak for other communities, but in the black community, that is one of the biggest problems that have plagued us. And that's why sexual assault, incest is continuing to happen because nobody is speaking out about it. If you fucking tell the truth, you shame the devil, and y'all not telling the truth. Like, you have to let it be known that there's a creepy uncle in the family. Protect your kids from the creepy uncle, because I know my dad is the creepy uncle. I know my dad was the one that would I've heard stories. I can say that I heard stories about him trying to pick up, on my sister friends. I even watched as my sister was an adult, like he would try to, talk to her friends and stuff like that. I have feelings about, him doing other things to other family members. Like, and I'm not saying this to condemn him. I'm not saying this to make him look bad or for y'all to feel like, oh, he a sick motherfucker. I'm not saying that. Like, what I'm saying is, I think that something probably happened to him when he was little. But, it's kind of like that gift that keep on giving because nobody is doing nothing about it. So I feel like this video is more of, to speak your truth. So when we think about forgiveness starts first with number one, facing what has happened. Then number two is talking to God about it and talking to yourself about, what are you angry at? When I initially had these memories come back and some of them are still missing. Like that frustrates me to this day. Like a lot of some of my stuff is missing. But I've talked to people and they said, sometimes when you go through trauma, like you do miss parts. It's just your body's way of, protecting you because it is something really hard to deal with. And I get that. And maybe, I don't need to relive every part of it. But what I do feel like is, I I do have to forgive because I am only hurting me if I don't. So for me, I prayed on it, and I prayed with an open heart. I prayed with my frustration. I prayed with my pain. I prayed with my anger. Cause yeah, I did. I wanted to kill him. I wanted, to do harm to him. But then there was a part of me that didn't. There was a part of me that felt like, that ain't my place. And there's a part of me that felt like there's a reason, for why he wired the way he wired. But I definitely know him doing what he did to me would wire me wrong for a lot of my adult years. Because I would not only become a repeated victim of sexual abuse and sexual assault, but I would also, do that same thing to other people when I was a very young age. And we don't talk about that a lot in our communities, but yes, kids are teaching other kids things that they have learned from their sexual abuse, and it keeps on giving and giving and giving. So for anybody that, I inadvertently, shared with someone, taught me at a young age, with you or did anything to you, like I pray you forgive me and yourself. And I want peace for y'all, and I have forgiven myself, so you don't necessarily have to forgive me, but I hope you take that burden off you. I didn't do anything as an adult, but as probably like age 12 and under, I would make mistakes and be inappropriate. Um, so I do ask, that you see that I'm human, and I told you early on I make mistakes too. And that I'm not just putting everybody else's business on Front Street. I'm putting my own out there too. So don't judge me. Don't judge them. Judge your mama. That's all I can tell you on that situation. But that's a tough one for me. I feel right now like parts of me are getting activated, not as much as before though. So I think that feeling, that intensity of feelings will get less and less if you trust God. But I do know um, when I prayed that night where it was like probably like 3 or something in the morning, and I reached out. Um, to the person that I share a deep connection with. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but um and they told me, like, for them it was Jesus, they prayed to Jesus, but for me it's God. And I prayed to God. I fully submitted myself to God, and I've been doing that like ever since. And it's weird because as a kid, as a very young kid, like, I believed in God, I trusted in God, and I actually grew up, Baptist with Jesus and Pentecostal. It's funny, it's a weird story. I'll get into religion another time. But so I do have, this religious background, and I've always, had God with me and relied on God. But sometimes I would stray and try to, like I said, I think in my first video, like, I would force puzzle pieces to fit that did not need to fit. And like, so now it's like I fully have submitted myself to God. And I realize now, like, we're all humans, like, well, some of us, I don't know what the fuck they are, but for the most part, we're all humans, living a human experience. And the human experience, unfortunately, comes with flaws. So when we try to condemn each other and, feel like one sin is better than the other, that's when things get messed up. And sometimes God will you know, make you eat your words when you start judging people. I know that I had plenty of times where I judged people and I had to eat my goddamn words. So be careful. Be careful when you're judging people. Learn to let go and let God. Now, I will say this. This is a disclaimer. Just because I forgave my father does not mean that I want to deal with my father anymore. So in the past, I used to forgive my father. My father fucked me over, and I mean fuck me over, fuck me over. Like, he's fucked me over with money situations. I know when I was like 18, I was in debt because he had got extra money in my name. I remember he fucked up a bank account in my name when I was a kid. Um, like, yeah, he literally set me up for failure, but always used to tell me he was preparing for my future. Um, he wouldn't even let me use his GI Bill because he said that he might want to go back to school. And mind you, he was like in his late 50s, probably going on 60. Um, and I later found out that I could have used his GI Bill anyway, and it wouldn't have even affected him or any of that stuff. So basically, like, I'm $100,000 in college debt when I didn't have to be. So, like, when I say my father was selfish, like, I mean this with the passion. Like, my father was not a drug addict or any of those things that you would think, like, oh, that's what took him away from his family. No, my father retired from the Air Force. My father was a smart man. Um, he was a womanizer, and he did have alcohol and gambling problems, but for the most part, he he just was selfish. Like, that's the only thing I can equate this to. Like, he was selfish. And but he also was a wise man. My father taught me how to fish. I'll always remember that from him. So that's a good memory for me. My father taught me how to play chess. And even though I do not like playing chess on a chessboard, if it's a mind game, most chances is I could beat your ass. So I play chess in my head mentally, whereas when other people move pieces on a board, I am calculating thoughts in my head. I don't need tangible pieces to do that. Um, so even that wasn't a total loss because I never really liked chess, but I realized the older I got that I literally play chess in my head all the time. Um, and I usually win because I'm long winded mentally, like where other people get fatigued. So um, he taught me how to cut grass. He worked on cars, so he was a mechanic. Um, it was a lot of little neat things, the little neat things. Like it wasn't a whole bunch. As you can see, I can name them, but yeah, like he was an inconsistent father. I will say that he put me on a pedestal, which would later make my siblings jealous of me and left me feeling like, well, what the fuck is y'all jealous of? Like, I get the same treatment y'all get, but because he uses words to put me on a pedophile and he always mentions me, um, I feel like they that brings up jealousy for them, but I always looked at my siblings as my siblings. I loved each and every one of them, and tried to give each and every one of them a fair shot. Um, but we know how siblings is. Some of them ain't worth a shit, and I'm just gonna leave that right there. And, and that's me still working on forgiveness. That's another thing. Like forgiveness is ongoing. Like, but I feel like as long as I can get past the big shit, I'm fine. Like, um, once I prayed on that forgiveness piece for my dad and even my mom, because my mom to this day will dispute me down like I didn't tell her. That's her truth. I don't care what her truth is. That's her truth. My truth is I told her. I know how it had lasting effects on me. And yeah, that's just how I'm gonna leave it. Um, I did also have a conversation with my dad and let him know like I thanked him for giving me life. Um, However, like me and him, our relationship ends, and I hope he gets right with God. And he said he felt like he has gotten right with God, but yet he won't admit to the atrocities that he's done. And that sometimes is gonna happen when you're looking for forgiveness and you're looking for closure. You are might not get closure. Like they might not ever admit to what they did, or they might not ever give you that apology you want. However, for me, it was putting up this boundary. Like, hey, look, me and you, we done. You my father. I love you. Thank you for giving me life. I wouldn't be here without you. But it's nothing else for us really to talk about. Moving forward. Um, and I was able to move on like that. Um, yeah, that is a part of the forgiveness. So I would say forgiveness is more than saying sorry because you might not even get a sorry. Um, forgiveness, forgiveness is for you. For a very long time, I carried around hate for my father even before those memories came flooding back in. Like, I just felt like, he abandoned his family. He just never showed up for us, his kids, like he should have. He put a lot of things before us. Like, he would always tell us, like, he was preparing for our future, or he sacrificed being a father for his country. And, yeah, hurtful shit like that. Like, it made us feel less important. Um, so like I always carried around this hate, but I didn't realize me hating him was self hate for myself because unfortunately, like I'm a part of him. So me walking around hating him, I internally hated myself. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. And I always felt like something was wrong with me because my father wasn't a good father. And I hope that some fathers hear this not just, for the abuse parts, but just the importance of how important a father is to daughters. And I can't speak for sons, but y'all are important for sons also, but you are very important for your daughters. You're the first you're the first man that she will look up to. And so she's watching you and paying attention to you. And if you're treating her or her mom like shit, like, she's watching that. And she will think either that is okay, she will think I'll never pick a man like that, or she'll be somewhere in between. So to make her chances better, I suggest men with daughters to, love your daughter, show your daughters how a man's supposed to treat her. Now, if you do everything you're supposed to do and she still don't turn around, that you did what you were supposed to do. But if you did everything wrong, then don't shun her for when she don't pick the right man, because that's what happened to me. Like, I was shunned for the fuck ups that I picked, when in all actuality all I seen was fucking up. I did not see any great examples of how a man should treat a woman. I did not grow up with that. So yeah, that was a tangent, but I feel like if I can forgive my father and my mother for what happened to me, I could forgive, other people for the things that they have done. Forgiveness doesn't mean I have to be around you or with you. And there's a lot of people, like, I feel like, I forgive you, but fuck you and stay over there. um, don't come cross this bridge. Like, this bridge ain't meant for you. So yeah, I think that's forgiveness for me. If we need to go deeper on forgiveness, we can. But yeah, I would just say forgiveness is more than saying sorry. And it's actually a song from a movie. It's called Just Friends, and the character's name was Shoshana, and she made that song. She made that song. It was funny. That was a good movie if you want to watch it. But yeah, I think that's what I have on forgiveness. And I will say that I definitely I know on my mom's side that um incest is a thing. My mom used to tell me that her mom used to tell her that don't trust your don't trust men, any men, not even your father. So that let me know that some stuff had happened in the past that her mom will have to say that to her. And I also know about a creepy uncle, and a couple of creepy uncles in my family that, were allowed to abuse their children, their nieces. Like, it's a lot, but it's not my story to tell. So I'm going to stop there. But I am saying this: you do more damage by holding that stuff in than you do by letting it out. There's so many women and men who have experienced sexual assault, sexual abuse, and they are telling their stories. They are letting it out. It's a page I follow on Instagram. I think it's called Tell Somebody. And I've always liked that page, but I never had the courage to speak up or speak out. Just from my experience as a child, like, when you tell somebody and someone doesn't listen, um, it will change your whole view for the rest of your life. Sometimes it just depends on your personality. For me, I shut down, so it just something I held in. And I hope this video encourages others to talk freely about what has happened to you. I feel like that's freeing in itself, to be able to claim that and tell your truth. Um, yeah, that one's a tough one for me. I probably made that look easier than what it is internally in me. Um, but I can say I have been able to talk about this a lot more since it resurfaced for me. So this is not what it looked like for me when it first came out. I remember letting out a horrific scream when that memory came back to me. I remember being so disgusted and felt dirty and confused and tainted. Like, I was not good, good whatsoever. So, and there's other stories about myself that I felt that way, as well. So this is not the only sexual abuse story, but this is the start of it. Um, and maybe, as the channel grows, if this is something that you guys want to hear about more, I could tell you more about it going forward. But I do think that a lot of people assume that I just had life easy, that I had, a fantastic mom, which I do have a great mom, but she's flawed. She's a human being. So, um, but I think a lot of people just thought I had these advantages that they just didn't have. And like, I'm sorry to tell you that, at times I didn't, and sometimes I did. And, I was just simply a person, whether I had the advantage or not, like I was gonna make a way. So I always say to people who have hated on me or didn't like me and didn't know me, like don't ever look at me as if, you should envy me, because you just never know what a person has been through. Like you just never know. And I've always tried to keep that in mind. I'm not perfect with it. I've been jealous of others, but I never let it, get past the thought. Like I've always tried to still bring people up or encourage people until they mess with me. Um, but yeah, I feel like definitely. I hope this helps somebody. I don't know who this was for, and maybe it was for me. I don't know. But yeah, that's that. I'm at 42 minutes, so I'm gonna end it there. I might make another video. Who knows? I feel like I'm gonna start just letting this stuff out as it speaks to me to let it out. Um, and let it be natural and flow natural. But this video was real tough for me, even if I haven't showed it. I do feel like when I made my first video, like I was really emotional. And I'm just naturally an emotional being, period. But I do have parts of my story that I have become okay with, and that raw emotional state might not show up like you would think it should. And that's just because I've already addressed it, or gone over it with other people. Because I have been in therapy for 7 years, and although I didn't get help with this situation, I have been talking about it more since it happened. um and like I said, my father would not be the only one. I would get sexually abused, throughout life. So, um, yeah, and I would grow up to use sex as a coping mechanism also. It was something that made me feel better or good. When I was in a monogamous situation, I can't say this about myself. Like, if we were in a committed relationship, I wanted to be in a committed relationship. Like, I would not stray. But I can't say when I was free, I did what the fuck I wanted to, and so should I. It was my body, my choice. So, and now I do understand that a lot of it came from looking for love, like in the wrong places, like, or for the wrong things, thinking, equating that with love. So I'm gonna say it once again: don't judge me, judge your mama, because you don't know what she was out here doing or why she was doing it. Some of y'all mama had to feed y'all, so don't judge me. Um, and that's all I can say about this topic. Um, But I hope it helps somebody. I don't know. I'm out.